a wide range of homes here, whether it's 1,500 square feet or these folks are building a home for a customer right now, 2 people, you know, retired, it's like 3,500 square feet. You know, downsizing doesn't mean having a smaller home to some people. To others it does.
Well, we call it right sizing.
Right sizing.
This is right sizing. Yeah.
But the homes here are basically built on 1 floor living. There's certain design standards, there's sort of certain models, but we're customizing homes more and more and more. And what a lot of people say they like about Highland Green is that the homes aren't cookie cutter. Different colors, different styles, you drive around, you don't get the feeling you're in a planned community necessarily. We're talking a lot about building homes. We do have existing homes that sell, and that all depends on the timing of our customers. You know, the values are ever increasing. We have a very low inventory at this point, but there's going to be turnover. So there's a lot of ways people get from point A to point B.
Well, you know, let me talk about the inventory just for a second. We, across the country, we see in any community that has matured, like Highland Green has matured, which is over 7 years, you generally get about 10% of inventory that just continues to turn over for natural reasons. Highland Green is in demand. They have around 5% inventory right now only in resales. It's saying something about the community.
That's good. Yep. And so we're going to look at some homes today. I wanted to show you this one. This is belongs to a couple that you're about to meet, the Walcotts, who they'll tell you their story. But they live in it now, but they're building a different Highland Green home, which is nice. And we're going to look at, we can look at that home today. We're going to look at another home on 3 Kestrel and another home on 27 Bittern. This home, 27 Bittern, is about 11 years old. And so this is going to show an evolution of homes at Highland Green. But you'll also see that they're always really well maintained. And then we can head up to Red Maple Drive, and there's 4 or 5 homes that are framed up there. So you really see an evolution and the opportunities that are available. And we'll just look down this dirt road, which is Basswood. But that's the future, and the story's already been being written.
When do you intend to be built
I
out?
hope to have Highland Green built out and still be here by the time I retire, which will hopefully be sometime.
So there's going to be a number of more phases.
Oh, sure. Yeah, we're about halfway, more than halfway built.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, this is an evolving thing. But people, you know, we generally are planning with people who are looking to within 2-year, you know, time frames, because there's urgency, you know, for lots of reasons.
Yeah, and some sooner.
And each phase is its own co-op. Is that kind of the way it goes? Or
yeah, and we can get into the details of the governance anytime. We can sit down and go through that. Yep.
Okay.
So,
right.
Onward and upward. Jane?
All right, so I want to start with Dan White of Hildreth and White. He is the builder. And Dan, tell us your story. How long have you been building homes, and what brought you to Highland Green?
Well, the company was founded in January of 1986, so coming up on our 30 anniversary. And we've been here now for probably since 2010, I think we did our first one.
So 4 years and counting?
Yeah. Met Matt Tier, who worked in the management level here, and got to talking, and he brought us in to give us a shot, and I think the rest has gone pretty well.
And in working with your customers, your responsiveness with them, you know, just explain to these folks somewhat of a sketch of the process that you do when you work with them.
Will meets with the customer first, and then after they go over the concept and whatnot, I'll meet with the customer, and then we start with there's really models A through G or H. out there, and then we take those off the shelf, so to speak, and then we basically customize them and listen to what the customer wants and tweak each plan so they're getting hopefully what they want.
Right. Talk about no cookie cutter. There are no cookie cutter homes here. There are no two that are the same. And you go through these neighborhoods and they look like neo-traditional neighborhoods. Different colors, different facades, different ways in which they're laid out on the home sites. It really gives you a feel of differentiation rather than all these boxes in a row that some communities offer. When you're working with folks in customization, of course, you're working hand in hand also with Sandra. And I think it's a good segue to get into Sandra and introduce Sandra and what she does. So Sandra, please tell us how you work with Dan and the customers, what your role is, what these customers can expect from you.
Sure. What I do is I try to understand the big picture, the picture that Dan creates for the customer as far as the footprint of the house, and understand how you're going to use the space and what's important to you, and then take that space, the architectural plans from Dan, and get all the details, all those fine details, and work with people step by step, setting up meetings with our vendor partners, the kitchen designer, the flooring company, then help you pick out with our plumber, the plumbing fixtures. I work with the electrician and the plumber, set up meetings with those partners that we work with, so that all the pieces, all the details that take so much time, pull all those together so that by the time the house is framed, I can give all that information to Tim so that he has all those pieces together. And the hardest part of my job is to stay 2 steps ahead of Tim so that he has everything he needs, all the decisions that have been made, so that Tim can take it from there.
You know, you said something that resonated with me, and it's how you want to live in your house. Every house lives differently. And when let's go back 30 years, and you think about, for those of you that have children, and how your house lived at that point. All the lights were on, all the bedrooms were used, all the bathrooms were used, you had activity, people coming and going. Now your house is living a little differently, and that's why you're thinking about relocating. That's why you're thinking about a different lifestyle. And how you lived 30 years ago is not how you live today. How does that house live for you in your mind? What is that dream house that you want to have? And of course, first floor master, that's a signature of Active Lifestyle Homes, so that you have all of your living spaces on the first floor, your bonus spaces on the second, and possibly a walkout down below. But with that, Dan, going back to you in terms of making that house livable for people the way that they want to live and customizing it, talk about stairs, eliminating stairs, and maybe some excavating. Can you chime in on some of those things that might be specific to this particular stage and this particular lifestyle?
Well, one thing I hadn't seen when we first came in, and it was like, whoa, we never do this, and where they take the whole first floor system and sink it into the foundation. Now I've done it so many times now, I'm like, I'm going to do it this way wherever I go, because it makes for that step going up into the house about 6 inches. You can go right from driveway, 6 inches sort of thing, up onto your landing, and then into the house. So, whereas a normal house gets framed on top of a foundation, the first floor deck. So you're talking about something like this. So that it makes it easy transition, maybe 2 steps up into your house. So that's probably the biggest thing they've done here.
And how about open space floor planning? Let's talk about that with flexibility of space. We're going into just a little bit of design features that are different within the styles of homes that you choose, but it really is about flexibility and eliminating those walls and living in a house. The house lives a lot differently, and we're living a little bit more casually today as well.
Well, the other big thing they do here is all the houses are framed with roof trusses that take the weight of the roof basically and direct it to the outside walls, which means pretty much all the interior walls are non-bearing, and you're free to move them any which way or not even have them at all. So it can make for a lot more open floor plan than you might be used to coming out of a conventional house.
Right, in a conventional house, we're divided into boxes, into rooms, and we've got hallways, and we've got stairways. Well, we're eliminating that with this design. That's what makes these homes so livable and so easy. We call it easy living design because it does make life a lot easier to live there. And what does that do? That guarantees your independence for years to come, being able to be in that home because of these design features.
The other cool thing about that is these trusses have what we call a raised heel. So instead of the old days where the rafter lands right on the wall, the bottom of the truss comes down, but then it really goes up a bit and then starts the roof. So then you get the ability to put in a clean 15 inches of insulation, which makes for a really nice wool cap, so to speak, on your house. You know? It really keeps the energy costs way down, I think, compared to most of the other houses. I think that's where most of the heavy lifting is done in terms of getting the biggest low-cost energy.
Is in that roof
Around,
structure.
yeah.
Good. And then we have Tim. And Tim is the clerk of the works here. He is the guy that keeps everything rolling along. Tim, why don't you tell everybody what you do?
Well, I think, Sandra kind of hit it. Dan and I have been working together for a long time, 16, coming close to 16 years. And Dan starts the projects, and I take them from once the construction actually starts, and work with someone like Sandra to make sure that everything the client is interested in, they've spent a lot of time and energy picking things out. They have a particular vision for the house, and that has to actually get translated into reality. And it all has to work. And that's pretty much what I do. Take it from that, not necessarily conceptual stage, but I guess planning stage, a blueprint and a contract and list of flooring items and paint colors, and get it to a point where we hand you a key.
And what is your direct interaction with the future resident?
Well, it's very involved, as little or as much as fits with the client. We have some clients that are long distance. Sometimes the communication is phone, sometimes it's email, sometimes it's a combination of both. I make it clear pretty early on that emails are great, but I like to have some conversations. I need to verbally check in with people, get a sense for how they're feeling about things, and I think, as Sandra said, also just try to understand what their vision for not only the house is, but certain portions in the house. Sometimes design elements will come in, whether someone's interested in something that's custom built in the home. That's pretty much.
But what you're hearing is that you are an integral part of this process. I hope you're hearing that. This gets away from the cookie cutter. And what Sandra does, and what Dan does, and Tim does, is that they make the experience fun for you. You're going to enjoy the experience. It's creative, it's flexible, no two are the same. What we do know with research is that This generation that we're selling to right now, this powerful niche, does not want the same as everybody else, and they want an identity. And they're not afraid to ask for it. And in the heyday of before the recession hit, we had builders saying, can't do that, can't do that, can't do that. Every answer was no. Can we paint a wall differently? No, no, no. Now, you folks have driven the market. The builders are responding to what you want. And this is what you're hearing from Sandra, from Dan, and from Tim, that it's all about your choices and satisfying the dream that you have. It's about painting the masterpiece of the next stage of your life and envisioning you right in the middle of that masterpiece. That's what's happening here at Highland Green with the team that you have working with you. So now let's switch over to Joe, because Joe, and you heard from Caroline earlier, have just built a house and moved in, as Caroline said, very recently. And so from your perspective, Joe, can you share with us what that experience was like for you? We've already heard from Caroline, you know, how you've come upon choosing Highland Green and that you've moved in. But you are so new in going through this process that was a little less than a year in time from what Caroline had sketched out for us. So from your experience, can you share with everybody here what that was?
It was good.
It was good.
That's the bottom line.
And why was it good?
It was good for some of the reasons you've touched upon already. Primarily the relationship between the construction team, the Highland Green team, and us, the customer or client, if you will. Just a bit on my background. I'm an architect. I practiced for a number of years as a partner in a firm in Portland. The last 15 years I spent as a staff architect and project manager at Colby College, managing the larger construction projects, the buildings, and did about $85 or $90 million worth of work during that period of time. So I've worked with a lot of contractors over the years, both before going to Colby and afterwards. And one of the things that I've come to value tremendously, as much as competence is the ability to trust the people that are doing the work. And one of the things that I like about Dan and Tim's team is I think they have some very good subcontractors, and because contractors nowadays, I don't know what your figures are, but typically, from my experience, general contractors really aren't general contractors anymore. They may do 5 to 15% self-performed with your own forces. Does that sound about right? Yeah. And the rest is subcontract.
Right.
So the subcontractors are really a critical piece of this, and I think the team that you guys have assembled is really quite good. So those were things that were important to me, and feeling that we're on the same team. I've worked with contractors who would just as soon never see the owner or the architect from the time they put a shovel in the ground, and these guys aren't like that. And it was a good experience.
So did they, I call them the portals that we walk customers through during that building experience. Were there portals that you walked through in terms of watching your foundation being poured, the framing went up, the roofing went on? Were there, how involved were you, just as a typical customer, in that process, in viewing it and inspecting it?
Well, it was, I would have to say it was pretty open-ended. I think that even though Caroline and I were only an hour away, I don't think we were ever here more than, I tried not to bug them too much. I don't think we were ever here more than once a week. And we would try to time it for points in the construction process where either we wanted to see what was going on, to verify that the decisions that we had made were in fact playing out in 3 dimensions the way we imagined. Or Tim might call and say, you know, we've got so-and-so sub coming in next Thursday. Is it possible for you to meet with us then to go over a few things? So it was pretty loose. I have a friend who's a builder, excuse me, in Vermont, and he built a house about a year ago, and he said he was on site every day. And maybe I've just had my fill of construction, but I had no desire to be on the house, to be on the job every day, and in large part because I didn't feel I needed to watch. What
You had that
they
sense
were
of
doing.
confidence and
Yeah,
trust that
yeah.
they were carrying it out to your specifications.
Yeah.
Good, good. So overall, what you're saying was that it was a good experience for you.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the bottom line is we're here, we're happy we're here, and have no regrets.
Good. So now we come to Linda and Ed Walcott. And if you recall Will's conversation earlier, they had purchased a home, a resale within the community a couple of years ago, and they are the couple that are building a new home in Highland Green. So let's hear your story, and let's back up to the resale first and the reason why you are building now in a new home and working with this team. So let's talk about your past first, and then we'll fast forward.
Okay, a little bit of background. I'm a native Maine, but I'd spent, we lived in Utah for 30 years. And so the goal after retiring was to come back to Maine. And so for, I'd say 10 years or so, we had been looking at Highland Green and had always thought, it was kind of settled in our mind, when we go back to Maine, we're going to live in Highland Green. And so we visited a number of times back when, and actually had put some money down on a lot, and then our plans didn't work out, and so we said, well, there'll always be Highland Green, we'll come back. And so several years ago we bought and moved in, and we really love our neighborhood and our neighbors, and I tell people that we like Highland Green so much we decided to buy another one.
But why did you do a resale first and now you're deciding to build? Talk to me about that. Was it the timing with the recession, or?
It was timing.
it?
It was timing and what was available at the time. And we had left a home where we were kind of in the woods, more or less. We had a lot of land behind us and a resident deer herd and all kinds of other things that we really liked, being close to nature. And we didn't see the lot here that spoke to us at that time. So we bought an existing one. And then we were going, we had talked to both Dan and Tim about doing some remodeling to the home. And then we said, gee, this is getting kind of pricey. Maybe we ought to talk to Will again about Red Maple and see if there are any plans, because we had really liked that area up there when we'd seen it, but they weren't selling any lots at the time. And so I went and talked to Will one day, and he said, funny you should mention it, I'm just getting ready to market that. And I said, sign us up. And then I thought, oh dear. I'm not sure how my husband, I'm not sure how he's going to react to this. But we looked at the financial side of it and what we wanted to do, and we decided that for us, we wanted to start over again. And weren't afraid of the building process. And our experience has been wonderful working with these people. And I think these three folks over here have been very modest about what they do. In working with Dan and deciding to modify the home, you know, we took one of the plans and we decided that we're doing some solar energy, some solar on the house. And so we took the roof and we clocked it around, what, 45 degrees or 90 degrees. Yeah, 45 would be kind of weird. I'm not the math guy, leave that to him. And so Dan said, sure, I think we can do that. And all of our interactions with that, when we've gone in with a question, could we do this, could we do that? We'd like to have this, and it's been, well, let's look into that. I think we can, and always found a way to do it. So he's a real problem solver, and so is Tim. And Tim is a juggler. I don't know how he does it. He has all of these homes and all of these subs to schedule, and yet it goes like clockwork. You know, he's got this little book where pink in the book, and we can tell, you know, the Walcotts are going to have, this is going to happen at their house on this day, and it's really amazing. And then,
So you're in the thick of it right now.
We are definitely in the thick of it right now.
Yeah. So Ed, what are you thinking about this whole process of going from the home that you're in to building a new home for yourself?
Well, it's been fairly stress-free to do. This is the second home that we have built. We built the one in Utah. Plus, we did such a major remodel on another home that it's like building a new home. So we kind of knew what we're doing, and we've been able to work right along with Dan through what I call the Dan plan phase, where we get the floor plan laid out before it goes to the architects. And then we've been able to work through Sandra to identify who are all of the vendors that we need to go talk to for lighting selections, plumbing selections, flooring selections, and so forth. So, you know, we shuttled off to Scarborough or Portland or Lewiston to visit all those people, make all those selections, and let them know what they are, and they're bringing it all together. And then, of course, I've got a little office room upstairs in our current home where I could see Joe's home under construction, and so every day I took one or more photographs of that whole process and put it all together in a slideshow. It's more than 200 slides. I said, well, if you run it at 3 slides a second, you know, you're going to be there a while. I got a kick out of the guys shoveling all the snow off during building, and then lunchtime comes, what are they doing? It's a microwave. You set up a microwave. Cold day, hot lunch, on the job.
Fantastic. So you didn't tell us what you're motivated. You know, the two things that I like to find out from people when they're considering this kind of a relocation is, what's motivating you? Because there are motivators there. And if you think about yourself 10 years ago or 20 years ago, you may not have had those same motivators. You may have thought, I'm going to stay in this place forever that I have. And so I look at motivators and how they change, and I look at time frame. What is your time frame? What do you want for your time frame? Those are the two things that, you know, excellent folks like Will they're going to be able to find that out from you. Everybody knows that. What am I thinking in terms of where I'm going and what's my time frame? So before you say you were from Maine originally, and so Linda, you're in Utah. Your motivator is to come back to Maine, but you weren't necessarily motivated to come to Highland Green. Why did you choose Highland Green?
Well, I learned about Highland Green from, I think, probably Down East Magazine originally, which I subscribed to, even being in exile out in Utah. I knew I wanted to come back to Maine, and I knew after having a home with a lot of acreage and lots of plantings and things to take care of, that I was pretty darn tired now of lots of gardening. So I wanted a place that was relatively low maintenance and not going to be a big burden, so that we could maybe enjoy life and travel and do more things that we wanted to do. That initially caught my eye, at the ads, and I came to look at it, and I thought, you know, I hadn't been thinking in that direction. I've been thinking of a home on a street in a town someplace. And then I realized that, yeah, I used to know a lot of people in Maine, but I don't any longer. I haven't been in touch too much with people that I'd gone to college with or whatever, and other than my family, which was getting smaller. My brother moved to Colorado. It's his mistake, I think, but I wanted to move someplace where there'd be instant community, and this has been that case beyond my wildest dreams.
Beyond your expectations.
Way so, yeah. I mean, there's so many things that I could be involved in, and sometimes our calendar is so busy with the things that are going on that it's like, how do we ever have time? We often say this to ourselves, how do we ever have time to work?
Right?
You know, because we're so busy. But that's what I love, and I think that's great as we age, that we do have a sense of community, and as everyone's lives are in transition, that we have friends who are in similar circumstances financially, similar circumstances in terms of background, and similar circumstances in terms of age, and it's just a very comfortable place to be.
And I like to focus on the stage of life rather than the age. If you look around this room, we've got folks that are younger, folks that are older. It's really not about the age. It's about the stage that you want to live in at this point in your life. What stage is that? Do you want to still have that obligation toward your home and maintenance, or do you want to free it up for doing other things? What are the possibilities? That's the great thing about choices out there. There's a myriad of choices that you can make as you're thinking about this transition, or you can stay put. But there are very exciting possibilities in the new adventure that the next stage in your life brings you to. And I have seen this happen so much across the country. And what we heard today from these folks and from earlier panelists were that there were unexpected realities that came to them that delighted them with their choices. And I hope that in today's sharing with everybody, with the professional end of it, the folks that are delivering those homes to you, with the residents that have been involved, with John Atkinson talking about the financial strength and stability, with Linda being involved, Linda Bernier being involved with CREA and how important and central that is to this community. You have got so much going on here that can allow you the ability to forge a new adventure, new exciting, and add to that longevity for your life and remain independent for as long as you possibly can. So, Will, I'm going to turn it back over to you. And
well, I think you just kind of said it all. You just summarized everything that we've covered today, and I hope everyone's had a great time. I know it's 4 hours has kind of flown by, but
maybe we could get some questions.
Yeah, we could do that. First, I would say, just finishing off this home thing, and the folks that we work with, customers and the people on this part of the team, is when we have customers that have so much experience in what they're doing. Joe, an architect, and Ed and Linda have built a lot of homes and know exactly what they're looking at. Ed's an engineer and the CFO of a construction company. We have to be able to deliver on what Amber and I start, and these folks totally do. I mean, we know that whatever we've laid out is going to happen. So that's great. That's great for us. And just lastly, you know, not everybody's even able to visit a home site once a week. The Combs, whose home is under construction now, live in Grand Forks, North Dakota. And let me tell you, they know what they're doing. They have, they've built several homes, and they know exactly what to do, and they just have the confidence that it's going on and it's going to be great. So that's nice.
If I could add something there. So when we did this, we did a major remodel on the cottage here, where pretty much all the flooring, all the electronics, you know, all of the lighting fixtures, the plumbing, all the cabinets for the kitchen, all the appliances, we had to select all of that. But we did that when we lived in Utah, and the cottage is here. And so we did that mostly back and forth by email and phone. And we didn't have the kind of support we have here, like from Sandra. We're on our own. But we went and, you know, researched on the internet, and we went and looked at appliances and so forth at local shops in Salt Lake, and made decisions, and then communicated that back to the contractors in Booth Bay, and it all came together. So we were able to do that at a distance. You can do that at a distance.
Technology.
And how people did that in the old days, before the internet, I have no idea. But now, it's so easy. You don't need to have big catalogs in front of you. It's all available online.
Mm-hmm. One other thing I'd like to share with you, and this is through my work and experience across the country, it doesn't matter what strata of income, whether it is the high-end luxury or affordable housing, it doesn't matter. People want the same thing. People want that sense of belonging and that sense of community. And what I know is that people buy on emotion and they justify with facts. We've given you both the factual side today of A to B for financing, getting in with the construction process, all of the details in terms of how you work with Sandra, how Tim fits in this. But you also heard a lot about the emotional side of what drove people to make this decision. And I will say to you, no matter what community you choose when you're out there in your search, it has to speak to you emotionally. For the next adventure in your life, make sure that the community that you are researching, this community or any other community out there, speaks to you. It's not just about the sticks, bricks, and mortar. It's about the lifestyle that you're going to enjoy. It really is an exciting time. You should go through this process with a great deal of enjoyment and fun and entertainment to it, and I know that this crew helps you do that. They take you by the hand. You don't have to make all those decisions at once. Decision making is one decision at a time, one step at a time. There's no rush to it, but you have to feel good about it. It has to speak to you emotionally. That's what I have learned in touring the country and working with so many consumers, that that really is a part of you convinced that this is going to be right for you for the next stage of your life, for the next adventure, as I call it. So, thank you very much. Will,